Hi there, my name's Sam of Core Yoga, and today I'd like to take you runners and cyclists through a series of yin-based yoga poses. The aim of this sequence is to release the tension in both the muscles and the connective tissue around the hip space, where we have a lot of tension from overuse of the muscles in the repetitive pattern of our sport, and across the front of the chest, also where we get constriction from the overuse pattern within running, but also in cycling, that sense of drawing the shoulders forward to hold on to the handlebars, a sense of tightening in the muscles there. So there are the two spaces we're going to work on, two big spaces that we're going to work on releasing today. And we're going to start in Sphinx pose. So we're going to come light on our bellies and just take a couple of moments by bringing your hands underneath your forehead and the elbows out nice and wide before we get into Sphinx. And just allow yourself a few moments to arrive into this space. So this practice we can do when we've just got off the bike, when we've just got back for a run, or it can be a standalone practice. So assuming whatever you've been doing, you've been busying about your day. So we just use these moments to arrive into the body and to arrive into the mind. To tune into the breath and to start to balance out that breath. So noticing how your body is physically feeling today. Noticing where you might be holding on to specific tension and tightness in the front of the chest or around that hip space. So that as we move into the practice, you're mindful of those spaces. In bringing your attention to your breath, notice where the breath is going and start to deepen it. And in yin yoga, we can breathe deep into the belly space. We need no contraction of muscles in the practice of yin. So we can allow that breath to travel deep into that belly. And then counting the length of your next in-breath and balancing that in-breath with the out-breath. And as best you can for this practice, breathing in and out of the nose. Press into the hands and just raise your chest. Bring your elbows underneath your shoulders and the hands just flat out on the floor in front of you. So Sphinx pose, sometimes if we're pretty constricted through the psoas muscle, can cause us a discomfort or a bad sensation in the lower back. So if you're already feeling that, or if you have back issues and you're feeling that, take the elbows a little further apart, away from the shoulders, and squeeze the bum a little bit. And that will just help you create a bit more length in that lower back. So from here, press the forearms into the earth and raise the head a little bit, close off your eyes. Feel the shoulder blades and squeeze them towards one another a little. And then resting here, breathing into the belly. And as you exhale, unless you have a sore back, releasing the tension in the muscles around the hips. So for now, the front of the chest, the back of the shoulders, the arms are probably working a little bit. But underneath that waist, those are the muscles you want to let go right now. And we'll stay here for about another 2 minutes, so we'll be 3 minutes in this pose. In the practice of Yin Yoga, we move our body in the beginning to the space that our body says, yep, that's enough. We're never pushing our body beyond its boundaries. However, as we stay in the pose, the muscles slowly start to let go. And every single one of these poses we hold will be at least for 90 seconds. And that's because it takes a good minute or a minute and a half for muscles to completely relax. And in my experience, it takes people that use their muscles more often, so super active people, runners and cyclists being in that category, it takes them a little longer. Because those muscles are used to being tense and they're used to being used. So once the muscles start to let go, then the connective tissue, the myofascia around that muscle, can start to unstick itself where there's been an adhesion or a tension in the muscle. So it starts to better glide over those muscles, through those muscles and around those muscles. And then lastly, we start to put a little stress on the ligaments and the tendons within the space. Not bad stress, I'd like to add, but a good stress. A stress that encourages the blood flow to those spaces, that encourages the hydration of those spaces, to keep them strong and to keep them from drying out with age. As you exhale, press your hands into the floor. Take the elbows back out to the side and bring the forehead back to the floor. So this, being mindful that we've been in a bit of a back bend, might feel a little funny, for want of a better word, around the lower back, front of the chest when you come out. And then from here, you're going to press back into those hands and bring the elbows back underneath the shoulders. And we're just going to access the quads. Now, you might want to use a strap for this, or a towel, or a tie, or something like that. Or your hand might easily access your foot. So I don't want you to force yourself to really stretch to get your foot. So bend your right leg and reach back, and if you can touch your foot, you're just going to bring the top of the hand to the top of the foot, draw the elbow to the sky and draw the heel towards the bum. If your hand doesn't easily reach the foot, you're just going to place a strap around the foot and then take the hand in that same position, elbow up to the sky. Because essentially what we're doing here is we're accessing a stretch into the quadriceps, getting deeper into the hip flexors, and starting to access a stretch across the front of the shoulders as well. So wherever you are, you find yourself into that position, and then you hold it there. So you can close off your eyes, or if that feels uncomfortable for you, then you can take a soft gaze to the tip of your nose. And then notice in the right side right now, or in the side that you're working, where are you feeling the tension, the pull? And breathe into that space. And then are you feeling on the other side of that pull, the muscles contracted? So we're very used to, in our sport, using the muscles to help us to create length on the other side, because that's what happens as we move. But now we don't need these muscles to work. And you might find that those glutes and those hamstrings in particular right now are trying to fire up to get you deeper into the pose. Mine too. And just breathe into that body. Breathe into the tension and allow softness to arrive where the muscles feel like they're contracted. And then slowly let go. Release the right foot back to the floor. Bring the right elbow out at, in line with, at 90 degrees, in line with the shoulder. And the left hand just by your left shoulder. And then look at your right elbow and just move it forward about 3 or 4 centimeters. I'm hoping you can pretty much move this way a little bit so you can see. So it's no longer in line with my shoulder, it's slightly above my shoulder. And then I'm simply going to roll onto my side until my body says stop. I might want to put a cushion underneath my right ear or bring my head to the floor. And I'm just allowing my left hand to hold me here as I access a little more stretch into the front of my right pec. My left foot is just moving towards the floor behind me to help me continually to access across the diagonal in my body, across to the top of my left thigh, but predominantly most of the sensation in this right shoulder. And then we're going to breathe into this shoulder space. And as we exhale, soften and let go. So notice if your hand wants to grip the floor, let it go, soften it out. And follow the pattern of that breath. Allow the eyes to be closed or the gaze to be soft. And we're going to be here for about another 20 seconds or so. And slowly allow yourself to return back to the floor. So just bring your forehead back to your hands and just allow the body a moment to soften, to settle. And just notice what you feel on the right side of the body. And then notice what you feel on the left side of the body. And then press your hands into the floor as we come up to do those same 2 poses on the other side. So I'm pressing my right elbow into the floor so it can hold me up, so I'm in a little bit of a back bend, and I'm going to bend my left knee. And I'm going to reach behind me, and if my hand doesn't easily reach that foot, I'm going to grab my strap around the foot or my towel or my tie or whatever, and I'm going to pull the foot towards my bum, and I'm going to lift my elbow up to the sky. And if my foot easily comes to my hand, I'm just going to bring the top of my hand to the top of my foot. So the weight of my hand is pulling my heel towards my bum, but I'm not yanking. So I could get a lot deeper, but I would be really working the muscles. So I'm just holding the foot in place here. And then I'm feeling that tension in my body, in the front of my right quads, and in the front of my left quads and left shoulder. And then I'm noticing that my left and my right butt cheeks, the glutes, and the hamstrings in the back of the thighs, they want to work. So I'm having to consciously allow them to let go. And if as you do that, that starts to give you soreness in the lower back, then better to bring the forehead down towards the floor than it is to hold yourself here with discomfort in that lower back. So we're breathing into the front of the thigh or the front of the shoulder or wherever we're feeling the pull. And we're using the out breath to help us release the tension in the muscle on the other side. I'm here for about another 15 seconds. And then we slowly release that leg back out to the floor. We're in no rush. We're bringing the left elbow out to the side so it starts off in line with my shoulder and the elbow at 90 degrees. Then I just walk the elbow a little forward of my shoulder. Bring my right hand to my right side of my chest. And then just roll myself onto my side or at a diagonal until my body stops. And that is where I stop. And then I'm feeling in my body where I'm feeling that pull, that stretch in the muscle, the tension. And predominantly, or always, that should be on the front side of the joint. So it should be on the front of the shoulder now. We shouldn't be feeling it in the back of the shoulder. And then I'm breathing into that space and my right hand is just holding me here. I'm not putting any pressure through my right hand to twist. I'm here for about another 30 seconds. So notice the patience of the mind. We're runners and cyclists and we like moving quickly and being active. And that can make the whole process of yin yoga pretty challenging for us. Because yin requires us to be still rather than move. So let's use it as an opportunity to help our body recover and renew, to help our mind rest, to help rebalance our nervous system. So that next time we go back out to our training, to our run, to our bike, our body's ready for that session. Slowly bring yourself back to the center. Bring the hands underneath the forehead and just allow yourself a moment. Now just notice how the left side feels and notice how the right side feels. And then pressing into your hands, come all the way over onto your back. So from here, as we travel to the next couple of poses, it's going to be really useful to have that belt, that strap, that towel, that tie, something that you can use to help hold the limbs in place. So we're going to bring the strap or the tie or whatever it is around the mid part of our right foot, and we're going to extend that right foot up to the sky. And the left leg's going to stay bent for a moment. We're going to straighten the arms and bring the back of the shoulders so that they're flat on the floor. And then from there, we're going to slowly extend the left leg out in front of us. And we're going to soften the right knee. Because likely, if I straighten this right leg, which I can, sometimes I can't, the quadriceps here in my legs are working. They fired up to straighten my leg. So I need to soften my knee to allow those quads to let go. And I'm just holding this limb in place. I'm going to close my eyes. And I'm going to picture the femur bone. That's the bone of your thigh, the biggest bone in the body. And picture the end of that femur bone. And picture it sinking a little deeper into its hip socket. So as you stay here, and as you breathe here, you're picturing the femur bone sinking deeper into the hip socket. And at the same time, the tension in the muscles, the tension in the connective tissue, the ligaments, the tendons, that's all releasing. And be patient. Remember, you're not forcing anything here. You're just allowing the muscles to soften, to let go, the fascia to start gliding, and applying a good stress to those ligaments and tendons. So they send out that signal to allow the blood to flow to them, hydrating them. Now you may have noticed that while I've been here, my right leg has slowly moved without me asking it to across to the left. That's totally fine. That's just the release that it needs right now. I haven't moved it there. It's just traveling in that direction. If your leg's doing the same, fab. If your leg's still up at the sky, fab. If your leg is out to the other side, fab. Then slowly bend your left knee and bring your right ankle to your left thigh. And draw your left knee towards you. Either take that strap around your leg or hold behind your thigh. I quite like using the strap because it stops me from really going too deep into the pose. But if you get the strap and you think, you know what, I can't actually feel anything with the strap, then take your hands behind the thigh. If you still can't feel anything, feel free to bring the hands on top of the shin. But notice when I do that, I have to really work to draw my shoulders and my head back to the floor. I don't want to really work in these poses. Allow the feet to soften. And now you're bringing your visualization to the back of your pelvis. And as you rest here, the back of the pelvis is going to sink down into the earth. And the muscles on the front of the pelvis, in that lower belly space, are completely soft. Noticing your mind's desire to fidget, letting that go. It's really helpful in this practice to focus on the breath. Watch it come and go, feed it to those tense spots. Use it to help release the muscles that are still hanging on. That keeps the mind active but focused, allowing us to be still, encouraging the body to rest and recover and renew. There's a brilliant formula, it's so simple. In the world of sport, the world of performance, both stress plus rest equals growth. Stress on its own ends in injury. Too much rest means we don't get stronger and fitter. Getting that balance perfect is the challenge. Slowly release that side and undo your right leg. Bring your right foot to the floor and then take the strap around the midfoot of the left leg. The arms are straight and the back of the shoulders are on the floor. And I'm just going to take a few moments to settle. I'm going to keep my left knee from being dead straight so that my quads don't work too much. And I'm just going to straighten my right leg out in front of me. And then closing off the eyes, you're going to picture that femur bone of your left leg. So the biggest bone in the body. Often the top of it, the bit near the hip, it's kind of pulled out of place a little bit because of tightness in the muscles around that space. So we're using a visualization technique here to feel that femur bone sink back deep into its rightful place. Right within the acetabulum, the hip socket. What happens when that hip gets pulled out a little bit is it can cause constriction, compression in the front of the hip. So kind of where the bone rubs onto the edge of the hip socket. And that over time creates a wearing of that hip socket. So what we're doing is we're reminding the bones, reminding the muscles, where everything wants to be in rest. And then mindful again that the leg moves a little bit, just let it, just follow that movement. So that's the unwinding of the fascia, the connective tissue. And this fascia not only surrounds the muscles, but travels through them, travels around and through the connective tissue, the tendons, the ligaments, around through the skin, the internal organs, everywhere. And this side might go in the same direction as the other side, or in the opposite. Might stay in the center. Wherever it is, just let it be. Just feel the weight of that femur bone. And then slowly bending the right knee and bring the left ankle back to that right thigh. So using your strap or your hands, just take your hands or your strap around the back of the thigh, across the front of the shin if that feels better. And then allow the body to soften and settle here. And now tune in to the weight of the pelvis. Feel the back of the pelvis. Allow the back of the pelvis to sink deeper into the earth. As you release the tension in the front of the belly and in the spaces around those hips. Allowing the breath to be deep. To be calm. To be without force. As we've traveled through these poses, bit by bit, our body's parasympathetic nervous system has been sparked. When we do high intensity training, we spark the other side, the sympathetic. In fact, we work that quite a lot in the training that we do. So the practice of yin can be really beneficial to help us to restore that balance, to help us prevent overuse injuries, overstressed injuries, to allow us to continue to do what we love. Slowly release that side and extend your legs out in front of you. You're going to bring your feet hip distance apart, your arms out by your sides, and you're going to take Shavasana. Now feel free to stay here for as long as you like. I'm going to close it off now, but make sure you stay for at least a minute, but up to 10 minutes is equally beneficial, if not more so. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste.